A forgotten artifact lies in pieces on a planet far from Earth. Few know it exists except those who took it back and those whose ancestors created it. 4 young people are thrown into a race against emissaries of the gods to find its pieces. Mistrust, greed, and magic are tangled in an endless web. What will the fate be of the universe once it is found and reassembled? Get Scepter of the Gods, The Rod of Truth now on Amazon, and get wrapped up in the saga that will not let you go.
Good morning and welcome to the Motivational Devotional, where we are merging motivation and spirituality to create a daily dose of confident positivity. I hope that this morning's podcast will help you to be more spiritually and positively motivated so that you can transform your day. Good morning, I'm Mark the Writer, and I want to thank you for joining me today as we continue our series, 50 Ways to Love Your Soul. I hope you've been able to follow along with this series and are finding it helpful in getting your new year going in the right direction of your lifelong goals. And if you know anyone who could use some encouragement in setting goals, then please share this podcast or the blog version from motivational-devotional.com. As I write this, I have already done today what this podcast is about, and so I come to you with all true integrity to tell you how loving one room in your home today will help you a great deal in loving yourself. You have probably heard people say exactly what I have heard a lot of people say, which is that they really need to get their house cleaned, or in order, or organized, things like that. Unless you have a housekeeper and live in a home that is photo-ready 24/7, you can probably sympathize with those people. Who doesn't look at their home and feel like something needs to be done? I think on the one hand, there are those of us who look at nearly any place in the home and get a little depressed at how much cleaning needs to be done. Then there are the people who keep everything spotless but still want to reorganize this or that, or feel that some rooms aren't working the way they are and need an overhaul, maybe even some remodeling. You can dive into any one of the above when you think about which room in your home to love. The reason I am only saying to love one room in your home is because it's more manageable. It also occurs to me that the simplest way of doing this is to look at a room and love it just the way it is, and then spend some time in that room loving it, reading a book, or playing a game, or listening to music, or petting your cat or dog, or doing something creative like painting or writing. Most of us probably aren't at that point, and at least one room needs some PLC. As you might expect from me, the first thing to do is consider the purpose of that room and how that room's purpose connects with your lifelong dream. Most of us don't think about that. We have homes that have rooms that have closets and furniture that have drawers and bins and have lots of stuff crammed into them. But we don't normally consider the lifelong dream and how the spaces in which we live fuel that lifelong dream. For example, if your lifelong dream is to be a writer, but you don't have one space where you can just sit and write, then your living space will continually frustrate your pursuit of your lifelong dream. If you are a musician and your lifelong dream is to be professional and record albums and go on tour, you will need to have some space in your home where you can adequately practice and start fulfilling that lifelong dream. So my recommendation is to first consider what your dream is and then decide on one room in your home that will most appropriately help you pursue your dream. Then it's time to get to work. Well, maybe not literal work, but it was for me today. Make some decisions about how that room will get used to help you pursue your dream, and then make some decisions about what needs to come out and find another place to go, and make some decisions about what new things need to be added to that room. Maybe none of it needs to exit your home, and maybe you don't need to buy anything new. Maybe it's just a matter of reorganizing furniture, equipment, and accessories so that what is in that room is what needs to be in that room, with the understanding, of course, that a lot of people live in tighter spaces where no room has just one singular purpose. In this case, that just means that the room has multiple purposes. But the same thing applies. Love it with the attention it needs to have only what it needs to be in it for those purposes, and love it enough to pull out what confuses the purpose. I have this one room that has been designated as a craft room since moving into this house. So as a craft room, it was the recipient of craft supplies from a store that closed and everything was on clearance. Then it was the depository for craft tools one Christmas, and then the next Christmas, and then the one after that, and the one after. Then it somehow was the place to put other stuff, and then one of the desks had to come out, and it all got jumbled around to the point that it wasn't even a craft room. It was just a room full of stuff. And so where I am as I write this is several garbage trips out to my dumpster later, plus I've done a lot of reorganization, pulled some things out that will live in the basement in my wood shop, and started fine-tuning it from a general craft room to a painting room. I have my dad's old drafting table in the basement that will go in front of the window, and I've pulled all the paint supplies together in one place to be organized on shelves right next to the drafting table. Oh, and the table tilts up so that the entire table is like a painting easel. In front of the window, it will get excellent light for any artwork. The rest of the room will, in the next few days, be focused on the purpose of this room, specifically being a place where we can paint, draw, and sketch, because in meeting that purpose, it plays a role in pursuing the lifelong dream of creativity in artwork and writing. The closet in this room will also have packing materials and a huge supply of specialty papers and labels, because artwork that gets sold will need to be shipped, and there will be some mixed media things made up of things printed from a computer and then finished with paint, ink, watercolor, pen, or pencil. So, more than one purpose to the room, but still focused, and both purposes line up with the lifelong dream. Also, I've spent a good portion of today loving one room. That's all very functional sort of stuff, and I want to not leave out the spiritual dimension to this, since that's what we do here on the Motivational Devotional. I have found that the deeper my relationship gets with God, the universe, the all, that the clearer I get on my purpose, and the more focused my life is becoming. Along with that comes the need for less and less, simplification, and having things that support my purpose instead of just having lots of things. Becoming clearer on who I am comes from this inner clarity of who I am to God, who God is to me, and therefore who I am to everyone else. In a nutshell, that's what I call the threefold way. You can begin living it out simply by loving one room, and loving that room into the purpose that that room needs to fill for you. As you do, I am confident that you will surely know that all of creation is conspiring in your favor. Trust that the universe always has your back. Gary Busey once said, "I'll tell you this, you have to remember to chase and catch your dreams, because if you don't, your imagination will live in empty spaces, and that's nowhere land."
Thank you for taking the time to listen today. Please help keep this podcast going by following the Motivational Devotional Facebook page, following @Threefold-Way Radio on Twitter, and sharing the written format of today's message from motivational-devotional.com on your social media. I am deeply grateful for your support, and thank you for letting Motivational Devotional be part of your journey. Peace out. See you tomorrow.
Motivational Devotional is a production of Threefold Way Radio, LLC.